actual rumor going around. Apparently, the Steelers are inquiring for trading with the Dolphins for Jonnu Smith. Why?
Steelers going to Super Bowl. Welcome back to the James and Dame Show. I'm Josiah.
And I'm Will.
And today we're going to be talking about tight ends. And I sound terrible because I actually feel terrible. I'm not going to lie. Everything hurts. My head. Will, please save me.
And I'm Will. But no, yeah, we're moving along with the tier list train, here to piss off a completely new group of people with tight ends.
Don't we always do that with everything?
Yeah, I think tight ends, I feel like this is the one position where the tight ends aren't going to be mad. Like, the players themselves aren't even that mad. They don't really care that much, but the fans will still get mad, so everyone's going to have something to be upset about. But we'll get into this. We have 42. The interesting thing here is some of these teams have, like, it's different than the receivers. We don't have, like, 2, 3, 4, 5 per team. Some teams have 2. And some teams have actually 0 on-roster tight ends in here because, obviously, we didn't include rookies. The Jets are one of them that don't have a current tight end on here. They have one who was last year, who's in this list, but he has since moved. So, it's a little bit tamer than the receivers.
Just a tad bit.
But yeah, this will be interesting. And that breaking news is actually a rumor that is going around. I think it was Adam Schefter who put it out about Jonnu Smith potentially being traded to the Steelers. To which I still say, why, when you have Pat Freiermuth? Whoa. But
yeah, he's got it.
Listen.
It's been a long day for him. I don't even know if I'm sick. I think I'm just congested, and it sounds terrible. And I apologize for everyone having to hear my voice today.
It's going great, though. We'll get into it, though, starting here with Broncos tight end Adam Trautman.
Yup.
I mean, he not great. I mean, I don't even think he's going to be... The Broncos tight end room is not a great one.
No.
They did kind of address it with a different tight end in this one later. But as far as Adam Trautman goes, I mean, serviceable at times.
He's all right. He's not anything too crazy.
Tight end is an interesting position where there's like a difference between... There's some teams that have tight end 2s, and then there's some teams that have second string tight ends.
Yeah.
And that'll
There's a clear difference between the level of play.
And I think Adam Trautman's kind of more like
he's like a string 2.
He's like a second string, maybe like a low tier tight end 2. I off rip, I feel like F is a little harsh, so I would say D.
Yeah, that's kind of where I had him already.
So he's serviceable, but
all right. Austin Hooper.
Yes, Austin Hooper of the Patriots. He is kind of a tight end too. He's fallen off, I think, quite a bit though from his days in Atlanta. I don't know. I mean, he still gets some decent playing time, and he and Hunter Henry both got some decent action this last year. I mean, that's what you get when you have a receiver room that was as rough as the Patriots was last year. So it was kind of just these two going at it, mostly Hunter Henry. But Austin
Yep.
Hooper, I'm also kind of thinking D.
Yeah, he's kind of in that D range right now. Yeah, he's definitely fallen off production wise, and this is just kind of what happens when you get older. Then you got the new rookies coming in to take your spot. It happens.
It's he's not the same as he used to be. But he still is out there and is still serviceable.
Brenton Strange.
Yeah, he kind of burst onto the scene this last year.
He definitely did. He definitely caught my attention at West. I was like, who's this strange fellow?
Quite strange.
Sorry. I'm firing on like one cylinder today.
I don't know how to judge him because I think he only really started to pick up traction when people had already checked out on the Jaguars. He had a pretty solid year. I don't remember if Ingram was hurt or if he just played less. But yeah, Brendan Strange, he had a good year, especially by like a lot of fantasy users' standards. They really liked him. This was his second year. He didn't really do much last year. So this was his first year at really getting a shot at playing, and he didn't disappoint. I think he's currently set to be the Jaguars' tight end 1 after Evan Ingram's departure. So I don't know how you feel about him. It'll be kind of interesting to see what he does.
He was injured last year, but it was like towards the beginning of the season. Evan Ingram specifically.
Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure how you want to judge him. I think he's someone I want to see more of because of the traction he gained by some people, but I mean, he was just kind of out of nowhere. And so I'm trying to like pump the brakes, make sure it's not just a 1-year wonder sort of thing, which as a 1-year wonder wasn't phenomenal, obviously, but
No.
I don't know. Do you want to put him in D, or do you think he can argue up to a C?
I want to put him at C just for the moment, just kind of where to see where everyone is right now.
That's
But
valid.
because he wasn't bad. I'll give him that.
He was pretty solid. Again, just seeing it only 1 year and kind of just out of nowhere when the only other one who was really contributing on that team anyways was Brian Thomas. So, I don't know. Interesting. Brock Bowers, I mean, we have our rule with rookies. We've only allowed like one person to break that rule. But he's really good. So
I think he's one of the exceptions as well.
you think he is an exception?
Yeah, I think he should be at least around, like probably around the B range.
Oh no, yeah, I was definitely thinking B. Because our rule usually is no higher than B for rookies.
Oh, yeah.
Jaden Daniels was the only one that I think we allowed to surpass that. I'm perfectly fine with a B. I wasn't gonna say any lower than a B.
Okay.
So throw him into a B then.
B for Brock Bowers.
But yeah, I can definitely see him being an A. I'd just like to see another year of it, while he also has more of a complete offense around him, so it's not just, feeding him constantly. Cade Otton, the Buccaneers. I feel like he's a true C.
Yeah, he's a definite true C. Like he doesn't strike me as like your breakout tight end who can do everything. He's not a Kelsey or Kittle right now, so he's serviceable.
He's good and reliable. He's not like, you're not upset to have him as your starter, but he's not a game changer.
You can do better.
You could do better,
Not
but
trying to be mean to him, but
yeah, you could. There are better options.
yes.
But you're still perfectly comfortable with him as a starter. He's just not your favorite option. Mm-hmm. Chig Okonkwo of the Tennessee Titans. I would say C at best. He's not fantastic. He's kind of, I feel like, in that Strange to Hooper Troutman range, where again he's serviceable. He's not necessarily someone you want to rely on, but he's kind of been their guy for the past couple of years. I don't know. I'm in that kind of C to D range.
I'm leaning towards D right now.
That's fair. He's not bad, but he's just
You're not
kind of
going to
that
get a whole lot from a
serviceable.
team like the Titans, though.
I think him being the tight end 1 is kind of what hurts him, because I think as a tight end, I think he could be a serviceable tight end 2. But just no one else on that roster above him kind of just allows him to get more attention than he needs. You know, it's like having a wide receiver 2 play wide receiver 1 because he's the best guy on the team, sort of thing. Colby Parkinson. Yeah, I, for some reason, thought he was a wide receiver. That was weird. I didn't see too much of him, but he was used a bit more this year than even like Tyler Higbee was. So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't catch too much of him. I know he was pretty solid. Again, it wasn't anything that stood out tremendously. So kind of just a question of, can he argue up to that C?
Not really.
And keep him in D range for now.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Cole Kmet.
Cole Kmet, okay, he's a very solid tight end.
Yes,
He's a very
he is.
solid starter. And the fact that the Bears went out and got Colston Loveland alongside him, I already viewed Cole Kmet as kind of like a B-level tight end. And I'm so curious to see, is he going to be the tight end 1 or the tight end 2? Which one is Loveland going to be? Because Loveland is a pretty highly touted tight end, but you also have Cole Kmet already, which is why I thought it was an interesting pick.
Indeed.
But it might allow both of them to flourish really well, because it's going to kind of be a pick and choose for these linebackers or safeties.
It's true.
So I don't know.
I'm rocking a B as well. I've always thought highly of Kmet, just because I've seen those games where he has those breakout games where I'm just like,
yeah. I mean, the Bears. I think last year was was like the only year where they had like pretty solid receiver talent. Other than that, it's kind of just been tight ends and running backs. So he's kind of been the scapegoat in that receiving game for a while. Dallas Goedert, he's at least an A.
yeah.
He had a really good year this year. He was kind of the key to the passing game for the Eagles this year, when the wide receivers were struggling a little bit more this year.
He was definitely an A.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, is he nearing that S conversation? No,
Not quite yet. Mostly because, in my eyes, out of all these tight ends, there's probably only one who's an S tier.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get over to that. Because stuff has changed. There's Dalton Kincaid. I hate that the Bills have him and Dawson Knox. It's so unfair. Kincaid has been very good since. I think he's even overtaken tight end 1 since joining Buffalo, which says a lot because Dawson Knox was doing well there too. Dalton Kincaid, though, can he argue up to an A, or is he still at a B? I know he's very good. He's been very good for them. And you have to, again, take into account he's splitting tight end not splitting. He's sharing the field with Dawson Knox as well as the receivers on the field. But he's been very good for them. And again, you're taking over for a guy who's probably a B-level tight end, and you took a spot over him. I wouldn't mind him being an A, but I could also see him being down at a B. He's got a very good skill set, especially as a receiver.
Get back to you in a second. I definitely could see him at an A, but at the moment,
You want to stick him at B for now?
maybe at B for the moment,
Fair
because
enough.
he's definitely in that higher range, but just kind of depends on where everyone is.
That's valid.
I also want to point out that he's had two knee injuries during this offseason so far.
Kincaid has?
Uh-huh.
Ugh. Well, that's not good.
Well, it seems like he should be on track to start, but he's just talking about revealing his recovery plan for his two knee injuries and his quest to gain strength and stuff like that. So it sounds like he should be fine.
Okay.
But I just was looking at his stats, and I just saw all the news about his injuries. I'm like, huh?
Yeah. But we can, we'll hear more on that in the future. We can go on with Dalton Schultz. I don't know. I kind of think he's still in that B conversation as well.
He's definitely in the B conversation.
Yeah, even after leaving Dallas, going to Houston, he was a little slow to keep up the production, but I think he's picked it up pretty well since joining Houston. Daniel Bellinger hasn't been great. I looked at several of the tight end stats because I know Bellinger's usually been their kind of go-to guy at tight end. But his numbers are low, and so are all the other tight ends. And that just made me realize that literally the only one doing anything on that offense for the Giants was Malik Neighbors. As far as the passing game goes, at least, because no one else really touched the ball.
It was bad.
It was very bad. I think best I can go up to is a C, and I think he could be C worthy. I think the quarterback situation and just the offense in general for the Giants was really rough.
He's a D right now.
You have him at a D.
Production and stuff like that.
Okay. David Njoku. He's a guy who I thought was kind of a B to A guy, but this year, again, rough, but that's because who was throwing the ball.
Hurt.
Yeah, that's just who was throwing him the ball. Quarterback room was really messy, and he had he wasn't as good this year, but I think the Browns in general just weren't as good this year. I don't know. Maybe potentially still a B-level guy.
5 touchdowns, 505 yards, 7.9 average. Long was a 29 with 64 receptions.
I don't know. I think he could be worthy of that B-level still. He's still a
decent tight end. It's just I don't know how much that was all dependent on actually I do know that was all dependent on the quarterback situation in that offense, but also I think he also went down with an injury at some point last year, right? Or did he not? Or was he one of the few players who didn't go down with an injury? I couldn't remember.
I think he either had an injury this last year or the year before.
There was an injury at some point.
Yeah, I think he's still in that B conversation, a lower end B, I would say. Although with Cade Otton in C, I could see him being in C. I don't know. I think he's a pretty good tight end.
He is. I'll keep him in B for the moment.
All right. Now we're on to Dawson Knox.
B.
That's fair. I think definitely before Kincaid got there, he definitely was at least a B.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Josh Allen really helps to have.
Yes.
But he's a very good tight end. Again, production has taken a little bit of a dip since Kincaid's gotten there, but still a good tight end.
Yeah.
Evan Ingram, now a Bronco. What? Huh. He had a rough year last year. He got a big contract extension a couple years ago.
Yep.
He was good for the Jaguars. Had a rough tenure with the Giants, joins the Jaguars, and he played well. I think this last year was the only case that he didn't play as well, but Jaguars were just a mess. So
He only played 9 games this last year.
Yeah, he did. He was injured. That was part of it too. It was such a mess in Jacksonville this year. Do you throw him in at B? Because I know he's like a year or two removed from a Pro Bowl. He's like he was a lot better after in Jacksonville with his tenure in Jacksonville beyond what this last year showed. But again, I think everything took a step back in Jacksonville, so it's kind of hard to judge that.
I think we should leave him in B for the moment. There are definitely a couple tight ends in there at B that we could definitely move down.
Foster Moreau.
Eh,
He's kind of that like tight end ish in New Orleans. I think him and Jawan Johnson are kind of both tight end 2 level ones where they're not truly like real tight end 1s. Neither of them really that big threat. I think he's kind of closer to a D or an F.
F.
We could throw him an F for Foster. George Kittle.
A.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be your 1S.
Nope.
Well, now I'm confused. Wait, hold on. I would argue he is an S, though. Like, he's been one of the top 3 tight ends for years.
Okay.
I think he's been a top 3 tight end for years. He's and this goes like beyond his like charismatic stuff off the field. He's just been one of the namesakes of San Fran for a long time, and he's one of the most reliable tight ends in the league, and he is absolutely one of those big threats. So I would argue him up to an S. Plus, he founded Tight End Day.
Yeah. If we move him up to an S, I think Kincaid goes up to an A.
I think that's fair. So Kittle up to an S and Kincaid up to an A.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm curious who that S was. Hunter Henry. Pretty solid.
Yeah.
Again, he got a lot of production along with Austin Hooper in New England, but that's because that's kind of all Drake May had.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to put him in like a C, or do you think he argues up?
He's more in the range of a C right now.
I think that's valid.
Likely?
Likely is one. The Baltimore situation in general is very interesting to me. Likely took a big step forward with Mark Andrews' step back this year. Mark Andrews, really rough year, but Likely came through, and a lot of people were even saying that he's the next tight end, like the great tight end for Baltimore going forward. And he did have a really good year.
He did.
And he showed a lot. He showed off a lot of his potential, and just where he's at and where he's grown to. And I like him a lot. At least a B for me.
I was saying a B.
You're gonna say a B? Okay, I can go with a B. I think another year, and maybe you could put him up at A. With the production.
another year. I need to see like a full another year of him.
But I mean, even years past, sitting behind Mark Andrews, he's been like sneaky good. Where like
he was definitely a good tight end too, and that's why I thought the tight end situation in Baltimore was pretty solid for years.
Yeah,
like, I wasn't going to question it.
So then we go on to Jake Ferguson. He has been really good, but he's in Dallas, where again, look at Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz also did really well there, and it just kind of seems like tight ends tend to do really well in Dallas. Curious where you have him. I feel like a lot of people want him in that like A to B range, but I'm thinking more C to B.
Yeah, that's kind of where I have him right now.
Obviously, last
I
year,
mean, he did worse this last year than 2023, but
Dak Prescott was hurt.
he also had no touchdowns all last year.
That does happen with tight ends. It can be tough for tight ends. I mean, Trey McBride went. He had the most receiving. Was it the most receptions or most receiving yards without a touchdown by a tight end this last year? He ended up getting a touchdown late in the season, but it can be rough for tight ends. But yeah, Ferguson again. He's been good. He replaced Schultz. I could see him at a B. It's just I don't know. Dallas gives me that weird feeling where it's like, are these tight ends actually good, or are they just fitting into the scheme really well?
Let's put him at B.
You want to put him at B?
Just for the moment.
Okay.
There's some stuff are going to probably move around in a bit.
Jatavian Sanders. He was a rookie last year.
Mm-hmm.
He came out of Texas, I believe.
Yes.
And he was iffy. He didn't flash a lot. I don't think he got a huge chance. He was sitting kind of behind Tommy Tremble a bit, so
He was.
I don't know, maybe like a D. I don't know if I feel F is reasonable, but I don't think he did. I don't think he was doing enough
D.
for a C. Jonnu Smith. I mean, he's even with his age, he's still such a good tight end. Again, and last year, Tua was hurt for a bit. That didn't help. It might have distorted stuff, but he was Mr. Reliable on that offense like all year. Week after week, he was putting up numbers even when no one else was able to. I don't know. I kind of like him. He is older, but I think with that age, he still has a lot of juice in him.
That's fair. Where are you thinking about putting him?
I'm kind of like a B to A range. I do like him a lot. I could put him at B. I think that's probably more reasonable.
B is probably more reasonable.
But nah, he's just been. He was so good for Miami this year. Juwan Johnson. Kind of thinking C to D. He's a good receiving threat.
D probably.
It's tight end is that position though. You have to take into account that blocking capability as well. If you're not contributing in the blocking game, you have to be a really good weapon. Kyle Pitts. I think this year was better.
It was.
But he's just been the epitome of disappointment, I think, since joining Atlanta. Do you put him in a D or do you put him at C? Because, he's disappointing. He's still pretty
He has those flashes, though.
Yeah, I mean, he can be used. I just don't think Atlanta's good for him, I'm going to be honest.
No, it's not.
I don't... And maybe there is stuff with him off the field. Who knows? Maybe it is, people have reasons for why they don't progress.
C?
It's, yeah.
I think C is a safe bet right now.
He's still a pretty,
he still has so much potential. It's just he doesn't do anything.
I think on the level of Brenton Strange, he's in C. Not on the level of Cade Naughton and Hunter Henry. Luke Musgrave, who actually was a higher pick for them, he's been kind of he's been okay. He's not been great for the Packers. I think being overtaken by Tucker Kraft has been not a great look.
Kraft is good. Musgrave has been definitely regressing.
I don't know. Maybe I think kind of a D.
Yeah, he's a D.
He's not lived up to it as much as to what he was hoped to be, but Packers fans aren't too upset. They have Tucker Kraft. Mark Andrews. This one hurts because I think last year we had him S to A-ish, and this year I think bumps him down a little bit. It was a rough year.
Especially that catch in the end zone.
That one hurt.
Catch, quote unquote.
I mean, the lack of the catch. Yeah, it was a rough year for him, and he's sticking around in Baltimore. Hopefully, he can have a bounce back year. I still think he's a good tight end. He's definitely not in that S to A range though. After this year, he's kind of lost that, so I'm kind of thinking B.
D.
B.
B.
What's that? D seems a little harsh.
Yeah. Yeah, we could put him in B.
I don't think he's fallen off that much. I think he's like on similar level with Likely, where Likely has like upward progression and Mark Andrews has a downward slope. Mike Gesicki. On the premise of having Hunter Henry and Cade Otton in C, I'm tempted to put him in C.
Yeah, I'm also kind of tempted to put him there.
He's pretty solid. He had some really good years with the Dolphins. Not so much with the Patriots, and he was pretty good with the Bengals, but Bengals are like an all-offensive team, so
Yeah.
not too hard. Mo Alley Cox, he did little to nothing, and is when it is a no-brainer to draft someone to start over you, that is not a good sign.
No.
I'm kind of thinking F.
Yep.
He's been okay for the Colts the past couple of years, but Noah Fant, he's been pretty good. He's been kind of the guy in Seattle after getting a second chance after being traded from Denver. But he's been a pretty good tight end for the past few years. I don't think he's quite in that A range.
No.
I don't know about you. I'm kind of thinking more of that B range.
B range.
Noah Gray maybe taking over in Kansas City. Who knows? He got a lot more production. It seems like he's getting more and more production every year.
Yeah. I'm kind of rocking with him at a C, though, just kind of like with his skill level and everything.
Not too impressed.
No, not too impressed. Like, he's still decent. He's just not, like, amazing.
No, and that's fair. He's kind of that like level of serviceable. Yeah. Pat Freiermuth. I hate to say it, but I almost want to put him in A.
I was going to say B, but I could see him also in A.
Part of me, like, the spiteful part of me wants to put him in B because I know anything lower than B is just outrageous. He's very good.
With how we have things set up, he is almost an A. I think he might be an A.
With Cade in there, I think he could fit into an A.
Yeah.
Oh, I know who your other. I figured out who your S was.
I was like, how did you not know?
I was looking through and I just kind of skipped over him.
It's like, there's no way if we're talking about tight ends, we don't talk about this guy.
Sam Laporta, yeah, I can see him as an S. That seems fair. He just completely slipped my mind when we talked about him. He's been a staple of that offense. I mean, they have so many staples. They have him. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Jared Goff. Like, all of them are at B or better.
Yeah, B or better. They're all great players.
But Laporta's been one of the best tight ends for the past few years, pretty much.
At least 2 years.
Yeah, which is about as long as he's been in the league. But yeah, that's kind of a... I mean, I think the lowest you could go is an A. I don't even think there is an argument from at B, but...
No.
Well, we'll move along. Theo Johnson. First year guy he's out of Penn State. He's kind of that second string tight end.
Yeah, he's not anything too special.
Giant for the Giants. I feel like F.
Yeah.
He didn't do much.
No, he really did not.
He didn't get a chance to do much, but I mean, it's rough with the Giants, and we'll see if he takes a step forward. He has a chance to. But yeah, I think F right now is fair. T.J. Hawkinson, he's a guy I think he can argue up to an A.
I'd say an A.
He's a very good tight end. Was with the Lions, and then going to the Vikings, he continued to be a really good tight end.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we got Tommy Tremble. I think he's kind of that C tier.
He's definitely a C tier. I mean, he's starting to get like pretty good, and he's starting to mold into a decent tight end.
Good, he's serviceable. You're not complaining about having him, but you're not excited to have him. Like, if someone said Tommy Tremble is your starting tight end, you'd be like, oh, great. Cool. Okay, we can work with that. It's not like, yes, let's go. Travis Kelce.
How to piss people off 101.
Oh, I mean, if we wanted to piss people off, I could I could explain nothing, and I could just say B.
I already had him in B.
Perfect.
So, if I had to explain my side, apologies for my congestion, but his production this last year was not up to par from the last few years. So let me talk while typing this. He's not been putting up the same amount of numbers as he used to, and he's also getting older. He's starting to get towards the end of his career as a tight end. And just with how the Super Bowl went and literally everything else kind of went, it's kind of hard to just be, like positive about his production. I feel like his production overall has been tanking, I'd say.
He used to be, so I'm pretty sure we had him here last year. He was an S.
Yes.
But I think last year the thing was, it was kind of similar during the season where he didn't do much during the season, but he went off in the playoffs.
Yeah. It was always the playoffs.
This year did I think even less during the regular season. Because he was really rough. And honestly, B seems like we're doing him a favor based off of how this last year went.
If this was just regular season, he'd not be a B.
No. But even like looking at the playoffs, it was aggravating because he didn't step up the way he does in previous years, which is he just goes off in those. This year, it seemed like he only made about 2, 3, 4 big plays.
That was it.
And they were at key moments. But other than that, it just didn't seem like he was himself this year.
No.
And I agree with B. Part of me does even want to move him down to a C.
I feel like we'd be...
It would seem very harsh, and I'm giving him the caveat of I think he will be better this year. To go out on a high note, because I think it seems like he just wants he wants another good year. And I think that's kind of just what he's fighting for. But I'll give him that caveat, but I just don't.
His yards just completely fallen off.
He had a really bad year this year. And if I was going off of like this year alone, he would be C or lower. But because I know what he is and what he can still be, is why I'm settling with B.
Mm-hmm.
Just part of me is like, do I want to piss off people more? but we'll stick with B. Trey McBride. If you look at his stats, I don't think it speaks well enough because he was very reliable and he was a very good tight end. His touchdown numbers were not great because
No.
But I mean, it's one of those things that can be very different.
He had a lot of yards.
He did very well. He couldn't get in the end zone, and it's a lot. I think it's something that's difficult for tight ends compared to receivers, when it comes to like getting into the end zone.
He had a monstrous year. Yeah, he's definitely like BA range.
He's very good. He's a very good tight end. And I think that's why it was so frustrating for him to go so long this year
Without a touchdown, yeah.
because he was well over. I think he was like 2/3 to 3/4 through the year before he got his first touchdown on the year, and he was putting up monstrous numbers. So yeah, I could see B to A. I mean, he's had 2 good years.
I'm leaning towards B right now only because I need to see that like year where he like gets touchdowns and like he's getting to the end zone, you know? That's like the one thing you're supposed to do as a receiver / tight end and / running back / quarterback / the entire
Score
team.
points.
Score points. You didn't really do that. I need to see a little bit more of that.
Yeah, it can be there's a lot that can go outside of his control. He's very good. I think the Cardinals just being in Arizona is kind of, and the way that their year went, I think is what's holding him back from an A, but I can see B.
Which is fair.
Tucker Kraft.
What are you thinking?
I mean, he's good. He's a good tight end. C seems low.
It does.
B. I was gonna say B seems high, but it really doesn't with
No.
what we have in there. So I'm gonna go with B.
We can rearrange.
It seems like we have a lot of guys in B, so we might have to reconsider some of these guys. But yeah, I think B is very fair for Tucker Kraft. Tyler Conklin, he is the only tight end here who played for the Jets last year, and he's not there anymore. He's gone. I don't remember.
Conklin went to
The Chargers?
Yep.
Oh, nice. So Tyler Conklin was kind of like the only decent tight end in New York last year. Moving on to the Chargers.
Where did you have Conklin?
I'm trying to think of where to put him because he's not great. The question is he serviceable enough for C? No, not for you.
Not for me.
I can, because I can see him at a D.
Yeah.
We'll put him at D.
Okay.
Tyler Higbee had a step back this year, but I still think he's been the more reliable guy in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah,
Rams.
sure, yeah.
He's been the more reliable guy. I think Parkinson had a better year this year. I still think Higbee's kind of in that C range.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I think a few years ago he was kind of in that B, and I think he's regressed a little bit. Again, this year was not great for him.
No.
Rams were kind of all over the place, though.
They were a mess. A little bit.
I think C's very good, is good enough for him where it kind of matches his fall a little bit. Will Dissly, I mean, he's solid. A D is kind of where I'm feeling for him. He's not great, but I mean,
He had a lot of receptions.
yeah, but that doesn't surprise me playing with the Chargers. Because that's kind of just the way that their scheme is set up for tight ends to do well. Again, Chargers, another team that were like, yeah, they need a tight end, and him leading the Chargers. I think he's an okay tight end too. I feel like D is fair. I could see him up to a C, but I feel like D is more.
D is more where he's at.
Yeah.
And Zach Ertz is the last guy.
Yeah, and he seems like he was rejuvenated this year by Cliff Kingsbury and that Commanders offense. And so he's someone who I think is very interesting on where we put him because, again, someone who in Philly was very good. And then, I can't even remember where he went afterwards.
Oh, like where he was at the Cardinals, remember?
Okay. So he went to the Cardinals for a few years, didn't perform super great there. But he just had a bit of a bounce back year, and I think he's earned kind of that stock back.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I think he, and I'm not saying like way up at like AS. I'm thinking like BC range.
I think a B.
You think a B?
Yeah, it's fair for him. He had a bounce back.
Yeah. I mean, he had a good year. I mean, I could. Although looking at who we have where,
I want to rearrange some of these guys.
yeah. When I look at this, though, I think Zach Ertz might actually be more of a C.
Would he?
Yeah, I mean, he, again, had a good year, but with like some of the guys that we also have in C, I think it's kind of fair to have him in C.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna bump him down to C. I feel like a lot of the rearranging is in B. Who are you looking at? Who are you looking at here? I think the guys I would be okay with moving down would be David Njoku. And after this year, I could move Mark Andrews. I could see Travis Kelce moving down, but also I think we made enough of a point. Or we talked about him enough. I think we can just keep him. So
I'm okay with Njoku moving down.
Njoku, I could move down. Do you want to move Mark Andrews down as well?
Production-wise, yeah, probably down there.
I mean, I want to see another year with him. He's kind of for me, on that same level as Travis Kelce, where it's like had a down year, but he's going to try and have that bounce back year this year.
Prove me wrong.
Just looking at the Ravens and being like, wow, their kicker and their tight end, who were like S tiers last year, had down years, and they still had this good of a year. Imagine if they had a normal year.
Yeah, except you don't really have your kicker anymore.
Yeah, obviously, we're looking at it now. I'm just saying, like, if those guys performed at their regulars, how good of a year that the Ravens would have had. Because they were as good as they were with that. That's, what could have been, but whatever.
Always the what ifs.
Always the what ifs. Looking at this, so is there anyone else you want to move?
No, I like it.
All right, so
here we are.
Here's the final look as we moved a few guys around.
Be happy.
Unless you're a Chiefs fan.
Wow.
Yeah, I think this is pretty fair. I think it's pretty okay for what we got here because, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of tight ends that are like, these are some pretty good tight ends.
They're pretty. I mean, whenever you're grading people, it's always like that weird, like skinny, wide, skinny, like diagram. And
it's got that.
Everyone's kind of in that mid range. It's like most people are pretty decent. You have the really, really good ones, and you have the really, really bad ones.
Yeah. So. And again, you have to look at this as the scope of, like, they're all in the NFL. And they're all taking pretty significant snaps. So they're good and they're pretty good. Like, if you threw them into a college game, all these guys would dominate.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But it's at the level of, you're ranking these as starting caliber tight ends. And that's where this comes down to. And so it's like, grand scheme of things, like, yeah, they're all serviceable. They should be at some level serviceable if they're playing.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of where it's at. That's kind of how we rank it. But no, yeah, this is This is the final look. This is what we've decided on. So that will wrap up this tight end tier list. Feels a little less chaotic than the receivers. It was a mess.
There's a lot of guys to rate.
Yeah, quite a few less this time, so that was nice. But let us know what you think down below, and you like the video. Like the video, I guess. I don't know.
Subscribe.
Yeah, if you let us know what you think, and I don't know. I guess we'll have some tier list coming soon. I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see what we do next. Who knows? We don't even know what we're doing next.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
So, thank you so much for joining us. This has been the tight end tier list, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
See ya.
Bye.